So today's assignment is this one here, Pro Tools Timing Correction Exercise Elastic Audio. And when you click on this link, it takes you to this page here, and you can grab this one here, the instructions and the session files. I would put them into a folder. Session files are the zip file right here, and it's the zip file. When you double click, it opens up and it gives you an actual session. You need to open up the Pro Tools session. Don't use just the audio files. Use the actual Pro Tools session here. It also pulls up this PDF, and so the PDF, you can also use it and kind of follow along with the PDF. I've actually edited the PDF so it's only doing Elastic Audio stuff. It used to have a whole bunch, well, not a whole bunch, but it used to have a bit more in it with Beat Detective and stuff as well. But it's really, that's a lot of work. Mostly what you're going to be using when you're using stuff is Elastic Audio, not really Beat Detective so much. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go through, I'm going to do this here with you with the instructions here. So I'm going to open it up, and when I open up, first things first, I'm just going to make sure that I've got everything set to the correct inputs and outputs and everything. So this here is going to my playback engine 1. If I hit go, all right, so we can hear that it sounds pretty good. I'm going to put my click over on the left, and I'm also going to put a master fader here so we can just see what's happening with stuff. And I've got an overhead stereo, I've got an overhead mono, room stereo, I've got all these here. And I'm just going to do a really rough mix of things, and let's listen to it with the metronome and we can listen to it as I go ahead and do a rough mix of stuff. Oh, I'm going to change that click sound. There we go. There we go. Cool. So what I'm doing here is I don't need to see my instrument stuff. I'm going to listen to this without this. Okay, so we can hear that's what it sounds like without anything. It's a little bit soft, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw a maximizer on it, so just to make it a little bit louder. Just mostly so y'all can hear it. If I wasn't playing this for y'all, I wouldn't really care about this part. But I want y'all to be able to hear it clearly, everything I'm doing. Okay. Get my overhead so we can get the, there we go. Cool. And trim these over. Awesome. And if I mix these in a little bit, you can hear. There we go. Awesome. So that's a nice little mix that I can use for when I'm actually correcting the timing on this stuff here. Let me just drag this over so I can see what y'all may or may not be saying to me. All right. So there we go. So now that I've got this like rough mix done, I don't really need to pay attention to my mix window anymore, so I'm just going to go over here to my edit window. Now the first thing I'm going to do is, it's in the right tempo, I can hear that it's the right tempo with my click track here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my grid to say bars and beats, and let's put that at 1/8 notes. Alright, because most of the song is in 1/8 notes, not 16th notes, and I just know that because I know music theory. So I've got this here. I'm going to keep my click track here. I'm going to put it in mini mode so I'm not really looking at it too much. And we can see we've got all of these different instruments in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all my tracks, hold down Shift and click all the tracks. And let's just see what we've got here. Download and open the mix, Sharp Hand Joe, Pro Tools session, create a mix edit group drums for the drums. So the way we do that, create a mix edit group, is I highlight all my tracks, and I hold down Shift to highlight them all. Not the master fader, not the click track. Do not select those. And I hit Command G. Now, if I just open this window here on the left-hand side, and I can see my groups, if I hit Command G, it's going to give me a group here. And see, I can give the group a name. So I'm going to give the name drums. and I'm going to say this one is going to be group D. And we want it to be mix and edit, both of them, mix and edit. All the tracks should be in here except for the click track and the master. And I hit OK. And now what this does is anytime I edit on one track, it automatically is going to edit all the tracks here. So that's pretty cool. Now, this track, these are my originals. What I want to do is I want to make a track that's called EA for Elastic Audio. So I'm going to create a duplicate playlist for all tracks, rename them by appending EA, short for Elastic Audio. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to make a new group, a new playlist here. So I go over here, I click on this, and I click duplicate. And it's going to say, now they all have a .01. And I'm just going to go in here, I'm going to rename them all, delete that 01, hit -EA, like this. I'm going to highlight this, I'm going to hit Command C on it so I copy it, and I'm going to use Command arrow to go through and rename all of these. There we go. So you can see it didn't take me long at all to do it. The reason why is because, again, I've done this stuff many, many times over the years, and so I've gotten pretty good at, like, I know what to copy, I know what to hit, Command, arrow key, stuff like that. You may take a little bit longer to do it, but that's totally fine. Next I'm going to do is I'm going to start it right on the downbeat of things. So I'm going to go over here. We want to make it so it actually everything starts on the downbeat. Now, there's this thing up here I want to show you. We haven't really talked about this yet. This is the tabbed transients tool. It's right here in the upper left-hand corner. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use that to tab over to my drum beat here. And if I zoom in, we can see it's right here on the beginning. And you can see this one's not actually on the downbeat of things. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to use this. We're going to hit Command E to separate. And you notice that it's separated every single one of them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this, click on this one here, I'm going to put it into shuffle mode, and I'm going to hit delete. And that's going to move everything over. So now everything's right at the beginning. And you can hear everything sounds pretty good, but it's a little bit off. You can hear everything just a little bit off here. So next what I want to do is I want to go through and I just want to put some markers in. This is not in the assignment. You don't have to do this part. I just think it's easy to do it. It's a little bit easier to do this assignment if you do put it in markers. So first of all, I'm going to put it back into grid mode. I'm going to change my grid to be 1 bar, so I just have everything. Actually, let's change it to be a half bar. And I'm going to listen to it, and I'm going to mark out when something kind of different happens. And I can mark it by hitting the return key or function return if you're on a laptop machine. So if I've got my numeric keypad, I'm going to hit my enter key here, and I'm just going to put a section. Whoops. If I want to rename it, I can go over here. Boom. And actually, let's rename this one hi-hat. You'll see why in a minute. I'm going to skip ahead over here to bar number 9 because I know I've listened to this one enough times. I know nothing really happens in the first 8 bars. AJ, yes, this video is being recorded. Cool. So right there at bar 17, something new happens, and that's our ride symbol comes in. So I'm going to go ahead and put a marker there, and we're going to call this one ride. Now, one other thing I want you to notice is the rhythms are going on here, and this is something that's a little bit tricky to kind of put together, especially if you're not very good with rhythm and rhythmic theory. If you've had a lot of experience with music, you've been playing music for a long time, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about here. But if you're new to this, it's going to be harder to understand what I'm going to say right now. And what I'm going to talk about here is the drum fills. Bum, 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 like that stuff. So let's go back to bar 9. right? You hear that one? Bum, bum, bum. Those are just eighth notes. Bum, pop, bum, bum, pop, bum, bum, pop, bum, 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 right? But if I go to this one, bar 11 and 12, those are actually triplets. So I'm going to put a mark. I'm not going to put a marker here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut bar 12, bar 13, and I'm going to cut halfway through bar 12 as well. Because this half here is actually triplets. Bup, 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 bup. Bup, 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 bum. Those are eighth notes. 1 and 2 and. Triplets are 1 and a 2 and a. Now, you probably had a little bit of triplet talk, a little bit of talking about triplets in mod 1, maybe. I'm not sure. Again, music theory is a whole different thing, and I don't really have time to go into music theory here, but these are triplets. These over here are eighth notes. And most of the stuff we're going to do in eighth notes, but a few of these we're going to do in triplets. So the first half of the bar, bar 12, the first half of the bar is eighth notes. The second half is triplets. 1, 2, 1 and a 2 and a 1, like that. 1 and 2 and 1 and a 2 and a 1, like that. Okay. So how do I know that? I know that because I've been doing music theory stuff for such a long time. All right, so now, if we wanted to, we could put a little marker in right there. So I'm just gonna hit this, I hit my enter key. I'm gonna call this one triplet, like that. So I just know that there's a triplet there. Over here, bar 17, that's halfway through bar 12. It's not on bar 12, it's actually bar 12, beat 3. So bar 17 here, I've got my ride cymbal. And if we want to, we can go ahead and just cut that one as well using Command E. We're going to separate that one. All right, and here our hi-hats come back again. I'm going to cut that one as well. If we look at this though, check this out. See how it's like, if I cut it right here, I'm cutting it off halfway through this. So I'm actually going to put my cursor back here. I'm going to put it into slip mode real quick, put my cursor back over here and hit the tab key to use tab to transients so we can fix this one. Hit Command E right here, boom. And we might have to actually go back and fix a couple of the other ones too. I didn't do that before, so maybe I should have done it, but we'll come back and do it. So what I just did was I took it into slip mode so I can put my cursor right here, and I hit tab and it will go to where this beat is, where this kick drum starts, and I hit Command E to separate it out. Okay, remember Command E for separation. All right. Let's just stop right there, and you'll notice, hey, look, it's doing the same thing that it did before, which is this kind of triplet thing. So I'm going to cut this out right here, hit Command E, and now I've got that. I'm going to go ahead and put a little marker here for triplet again. Okay. Turn the metronome down a little bit. That's super annoying. And let's just listen to these. Yeah, I'm not going to separate that out. It's still doing the same thing, basically. Okay. Okay, now we go back to our ride cymbal. So I'm going to go here to bar 49 and put ride in here. Boom. Yep. And I'm going to separate it right there. And let's just zoom in and see. It seems to be pretty good on the line there. So I'm just going to hit Command E to separate it. Okay. That is the sloppiest drummer ever recorded. Every other drummer who's ever lived is rolling around in their beds or graves or whatever. But we're going to clean it up. We're going to make it sound a bit better. We can't fix everything in there, but we're going to fix a lot of it. The first thing in the assignment, what it says to do is change it into rhythmic mode. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to change all these here into rhythmic mode. Boom. Now, because we had set up a group here, and we got these groups here for drums, when I change one of them, it's going to change all of them. So now they're all in rhythmic mode. And remember, I just did that over here. I clicked on the Elastic Audio plugin selector here. I click on it, and I just select rhythmic mode. Now, we do not have to change the time-based selector to ticks, but if you wanted to try out different tempos and stuff, you would change it to ticks. I'm going to go ahead and change it because why not, right? All right. So we got that. Now, we're going to change our track view selector to warp markers. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to change this to warp markers. And in here, we can now see where it's put little transient markers in. If you want to see it without actually worrying about moving anything around, we can use analysis mode. Here, let's just take a look at this. Yep, and we can see, cool, okay, so everything looks like it's pretty good. I mean, these are drums, so drums should work out pretty well. Put it back into warp mode, and let's go to step number C, 4C. Open the Quantize MIDI event operation to highlight the first 4 bars of performance and set it to Quantize Elastic Audio events instead of audio, and apply the quantization. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in here to our event, go to event operations. I would, Nico, I totally agree. But then we wouldn't have anything to work with, right? Yeah. So we're going to go in here, we're going to go to event operations, we're going to go to Quantize. So go in here to Quantize, and we want to make sure it says Elastic Audio Events. By default, it should say Elastic Audio Events because that's all there is. There's no MIDI here, so it says Elastic Audio Events. We're good there. We're going to change this Quantize grid to 8th notes. We don't want to do 16th notes because that would end up messing with stuff. So we're going to keep it at 8th. We're going to change it to 8th notes there. And then we're going to apply the quantization. Now in here, step number C, it does not say anything about using 8th notes. I recommend 8th notes because it's all 8th notes, and you really should be using whatever it actually is. Now let me just show you one more cool little trick with this. Because we went through and put in some markers and we cut these clips up where the rhythms change, now we don't actually have to look at the warp markers like it says in the instructions. We can actually click on this and bring up our Quantize menu, which is the shortcut for that is Option 0, and it's in 8th notes here. So now watch what happens. I'm just going to hit apply, and it's going to move stuff around. So now let's listen to it. Right? See how much better that sounds? Worlds better. You can hear there's a little bit of artifacting in there, so I'm going to go ahead and click on this here and change the decay rate. Now what this does is this decay rate, I said I'd come back and talk about it. Basically what the decay rate does is between each transient, it's like how much is it going to try to hold it to the next one. For drums, I recommend, if you're in rhythmic mode, I recommend putting this down here somewhere around like 17 to 20, 15 to 20, something like that. And then I'll kind of tighten things up a little bit. Okay, I'm not going to listen to the whole thing again. We're going to skip over here. Now let's listen to this one here. Now, before I apply Quantize, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to make sure that we've got the beginning of the note here. And we can see we actually don't have the beginning of the note. And I should have actually done that before I, hold on one second. I should have done this before I applied the quantization here. Yep, okay. So before I apply the quantization, I actually kind of did that a little bit wrong. I want to make sure that see how this here, the beginning of the note right here is kind of on the other side of this line. I want to make sure that it's in the right place. So I'm going to put slip mode. I said slip mode, not my view. And I'm going to grab it and just drag it over like this. So make sure that you have trim selected, not TCE. If you use TCE, it's going to throw everything off. I'm just going to go through here, and I'm just going to make sure that everything is more or less in the right places. Yes, good, cool. It doesn't matter if it's on the right-hand side of stuff. It just matters really if it's on the left-hand side of stuff. If it's over here on the left, we don't want it to be there. We want it to be on the right side of stuff. So I'm going to go to the end over here, click on this one, go up. Yep, that's pretty good. Yes, good. If you want to, you can just drag this over so it kind of fits together better. But let's leave it alone here. Let's see what happens when we actually start to do stuff. Now, if you want to skip through things easier, if you have gone in and edited everything, you can click on it and hit the right arrow key. It's going to skip to the end. Yeah, I know. Let's grab this and, oops. Hey. All right, where did I end up? Get to the ride symbol. Yep, here's the ride symbol. I'm going to click and drag this back to the left to make sure its start point is on the other side of this. That's good. That one looks good. Whoa, that one's way off. Let's go down here and move that over like that. This one is, it's okay. Let's see what that sounds like eventually. Yep, good. Yeah, and that's the end. Okay, cool. So I hope if you're confused, you can go back and watch the video, or we can talk about it in Zoom, or we can talk about it tomorrow even, because maybe you need to kind of work on this one before you actually ask me questions about it, because you will have questions about it. Or we could talk about it in Zoom when you have questions later on today. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to use my Quantize for all these. Hit apply, and you can see these moving around. But you see this one where it says triplet here. Well, here, let's check this out. Let's listen to this. I'm going to put my thing here 2 bars before. Right, that's a triplet. Let's go ahead and quantize it with this 8th note here. Right, hear how weird that sounds? That's way too weird sounding. We really don't want it to sound like that. So what we need to do is we need to put it in triplet mode, and that's this one here that says tuplet. Right here, boom, hit apply. You don't need to change anything, just hit apply. Now let's listen to it. Now it sounds like a triplet there. And that's what we want to make sure it sounds like. There's only 2 places in the whole entire song that do that. And again, if you're doing this on your own, if you're watching me, I've just showed you what to do. Just make sure you go into halfway through bar 12, set your grid to the half note, highlight it, hit Command E to separate it out, and just apply a triplet to it. Make sure it's an 8th note triplet. But if you're ever doing something where you don't know it's supposed to be a triplet, you're just going to have to make sure it sounds close to the original recording, but just tighter, not sloppy. I don't really know what to tell you if you except for learn music theory. You don't have to learn music theory perfectly, but you should be okay with at least the rhythms of stuff. All right, moving on. So this section here, we're going to go back, turn off your tuplet, 8th note, grid, boom. Let's go to this ride symbol over here. Again, hit apply. All the rest of the stuff is just 8th notes, except for the one that says triplet. Hit this one here, boom, apply. Go ahead and hit this one. Wait, keep the 8th note, put on tuplet. There we go. There we go, boom. Take off the tuplet, hit apply, this section here, boom. And now we go, oh, here's the ride symbol again, hit apply, and that's good to the end. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I've actually taken a lot of the hard work, kind of like some of the hard work out for you. I did it a little bit differently than how they do it on here. What he says to do is go through in 4-bar chunks and mess around with it and stuff like that. Honestly, if you want to do it the way I'm doing it in the video, that's fine. If you want to do it the way that it says to do it in the instructions, that's also fine. You end up at the same point, which is great. Now what we're going to have is we're going to end up with 2 sets of playlists. This original one, that's the original recording. That one, or the one we just edited, Elastic Audio Edit. Okay, and you can hear that for the most part, we would actually want to change all these over here to like 17. You want to make sure all of these elastic audios stay the same, or these rhythmic modes, yeah, these decay rates are the same. That's kind of annoying that it doesn't allow you to just change it on one of them. I'm not really sure why that's not a thing. For me, that's heavily annoying. Let me just go and change them in here so we can hear the difference. It should sound a little bit different because I'm noticing a few little artifacts in here. There we go. Boom. This one sounds a bit weird. There we go. Now it's sounding a little bit more natural. Yeah, 17 didn't work for the ride cymbal stuff. Cool, okay. And you can hear a few of these sound a little bit weird still. That's probably because they're not, wait, where is it? Where was it? It was over, oh, here in the triplet part. Oh, that's why. There we go. Yeah, so you can see how it's like beginning part here. Let's drag this back a little bit. So did you see that? I hope you can see this. You see how it's like got the note right here and it's got the note right here again? That's because one of them, they both like quantized it. So let's move this back like this. So now we should be good. Yeah, here, let's move the start point back a little bit. Yeah, good. And you want to make sure, you want to just go through and make sure that these edits sound pretty good and don't sound too weird. Some of them are going to sound a little bit strange. That's okay, because remember, if we were doing this in real life, there would be other instruments here and they would be covering things up for us. So but like say here's one here where you want to make sure that it's not doing too much. There we go, like that. And you got to zoom way in. You see how, notice how I'm zooming way in on these bad boys? All right, well that's what you got to do. Zoom on in, there you go. Boom, yep. Make sure there's no doubling up. Cool, and then we're good to go. Awesome. What you're going to turn in today is a screenshot of this, and I want to see both. I want to see it zoomed out like this, so I can see the edits you're doing here in this edit mode here. So take a screenshot of this, like that, and I also want to see your warping here, and you might want to zoom in. You don't need to show me the whole thing here. But let's just take another screenshot of this one here. There we go, or maybe something like this. Oh, okay, that's okay. Thank you for letting me know. So take a zoom in on this so I can just see that you've gone through and edited some stuff. And so you'd end up with two screenshots. One that looks like this, and one that looks like this. And turn both of these in so I can see both of them like that. And that's what I really want you to kind of turn in and submit here. Yeah, that's what I want you to submit there. Okay, and a basic edit, but I don't need to see the mix. I just, that's just more for you so you can listen to it. It doesn't drive you nuts when you're listening to this a million times. Just make sure the mix sounds pretty good for you. Cool. All right, let me go ahead and stop this recording.